Welcome to this special live vlog. Not all of our vlogs are live on Monday morning. Many of them we do pre-record, but this one is live and for a very special reason. No, I'm not going to be talking about the tragic, unanticipated breakup of Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian. I know you're brokenhearted. I know that many of you out there are in trauma because of that, but we have a lot more serious situation to discuss. And that is what happened last Friday when actress Anne Heche nearly killed herself and at least one other person. You probably know the story by now. She drove into two buildings. Her car burst into flames in a second. I say there is more to this story that should spur Christians to pray for Anne Heche because she is likely possessed by death demons. Now, what we're going to do is analyze this step by step, what happened. And for those of you who are interested in deliverance, this is an interesting case study of the facts you consider in a person's life to determine curses and demonization. And we have a very remarkable instance to look at and analyze and dissect. Because deliverance is a lot more than a power encounter in most cases, and a shout it out, lay your hands and tell it to go kind of thing. Almost always demons intricately weave themselves into the history, the ancestry, and the behavioral aspects of an individual's life. And that's the case with Anne Heche. And as we analyze this, the purpose of it is to understand more deeply in this dramatic public example what goes on in individual lives. By the way, like and share. Why don't you do that right now to make sure you get some other folks watching out there. We are taking live chats. And Sammy, glad to see you there. Bon Rene says, God bless you and your family. Thank you so much. Kellyanne, good to see you. Mohawk, you too. And Charlene, who says, Kim and Pete are the least of my concerns. Jesus far above is more important. Absolutely. And Mohawk, this particular individual is from New Zealand. He says it's 6:02. I guess that's in the morning. Home of the kiwi fruit capital of the world. Mohawk, most Americans have never eaten a kiwi fruit, but I've been to New Zealand many times, and I have to tell you, I don't like kiwi. I love New Zealand. Oh my goodness, especially South Island and Mount Cook and the Milford Fjords, which I've had the opportunity with my wife and family to sail up. So I love New Zealand, but I can hold the kiwi, all right? But glad to see you up at 6:02 a.m. in the morning. And Sandy's wipes out Delaney. Hi, Bob from Anchorage, Alaska. So we're going to welcome some comments about this subject that happened to Anne Heche this last Friday and look at it from a deliverance standpoint. So for those of you who maybe didn't catch it, actor Anne Heche, the longtime lesbian partner of Ellen DeGeneres, crashed her Mini Cooper car twice, first into an apartment complex and then to a house. She was driving 90 miles an hour drunk when this happened. And yet the likes of Alec Baldwin and other Hollywood stars have felt so sorry for her. Well, I feel sorry for her too, but I also feel sorry for the people in the apartment who could have been killed and the woman in the house who was nearly killed and lost everything she had in the fire that ensued. Heche herself barely survived, was severely burned. Her ex-male boyfriend, don't get confused here, she's been a little bit of both, and nobody's really sure what she is at this point. I don't know that she does, but anyway. So she has an ex-male boyfriend, Thomas Jane. He has been speaking for her, even though they've split. He said that she is in stable condition. The police said she had an open vodka bottle in the car. 59 firefighters struggled more than an hour to get her out alive. She'd actually bragged on a podcast not long before about how much alcohol she regularly consumes. So as this story played out, long buried and a lot of unknown facts about her life suddenly started to surface. And some of this I had already known about, especially when it came out years ago when the relationship with Ellen DeGeneres started. But now we know even more details. In fact, Anne herself had written a book about some of these details, the language of which, describing what happened to her as a child, I cannot repeat to you. But track with me here. Again, for those of you interested in deliverance, this is going to be a microcosmic study of what goes on behind the macrocosm of a person's life. Jojo, we're getting into a Kiwi thing here. It says, Kiwi is better shaved. Why? I guess maybe it's that hairy stuff on the outside that never really got to me. Dennis says, Pastor Bob, how's your health now? Much, much better, thank you. As some of you know, I've had a rough month of July. First, I had a mountain biking accident, and I broke 2 ribs, and shortly thereafter came down for the first time with COVID. And that really dealt a serious blow to our ministry. Mohawk, you're just not going to let go of this kiwi thing. It's a superfood. It may well be. Okay. Susanna, glad to see you there. And Candace says, hi, Bob from Murray, Kentucky. Well, okay. Oh, Mohawk, let's say you don't eat kiwi fruit with the skin on. Even I know that, all right? Dennis says, I always eat it with the skin included. All right, I think we pretty well dealt with the issue of kiwi fruit. Ara says, I didn't know she was laughing about drinking. Yes, she did. She needs the Holy Spirit. Well, we're going to get a lot more into that in just a moment. All right? I've got a couple of other chats here. Have you broken any ribs during an exorcism? Well, actually, I did in South Africa about almost 20 years. I think it was 17 or 18 years ago. Yes, I did. A person that I was dealing with, I wasn't cautious enough, picked me up and threw me against the edge of a stage, and that was another story. Blessings from Germany, Steffi. Aura says, we love you, Anne Heche. Please, we don't want you to go to hell because no one talked to you about Jesus. Well, Aura, you're about to find out she knew about Jesus. Her father was a well-known Baptist minister and a choir director when Anne was growing up. He was also a closet homosexual who, during the day, preached the gospel, and at night, cruised gay bars. Anne says that her father raped her and gave her herpes when she was just a child. And in her book, she describes in detail the way in which some of those rapes occurred. And all I can say is just, it was animalistic. It was demonic, absolutely demonic. So we know that her father had demons to do what he did and to live the double life that he lived and the lie. But we also know that Anne got demons. And this is one of the things that's very hard for people to accept. I talk about this in my book, Jezebel. And then you've watched me deal with people. Unfortunately, the victim of sexual abuse almost always gets the demons of the perpetrator because of the soul tie of the one flesh. Now, it's predatory, it is violent, it is non-consensual, but if a sexual act occurs, and that doesn't even have to be full intercourse. Now, I'm speaking from decades of experience of having dealt with thousands of such cases. This is how it happens. Excuse me. So if you have been sexually abused, you need to wake up and listen. You need to like and share right now. Let some other people know about this so they can jump in on this conversation and jump in on this particular topic. You can be a victim, non-consensual, rape, incest, various forms of sexual predation, and you get the demons of the perpetrator. It doesn't sound fair, but that's the way the one flesh relationship works. As Paul told the Corinthians, don't you know that even if you have sex with a harlot, you become one flesh? So that's what fornication and rape is about, and incest. And it's one of the ways in which Satan metastasizes his evil and grows it. She says her father gave her herpes. Eventually, her father died of AIDS. I'm going to say something else here. Anne Heche's mother had to suspect something. I've dealt with so many cases, and this woman's 85 now. I'm not pointing a finger at her per se, but she had to know, as if it's true, as Anne described it, and wait till you hear the rest of the story, that she had to know what was happening. To some extent, she had to be suspicious. Come on. You're a Christian woman married to a guy who's gay, who's out of the gay bars at night and is raping your daughter, and you don't have a clue? You either don't want to have a clue or you dissociate from it. And many victims, and listen to me, those of you who have been victims of sexual abuse out there, listen up. Some of you have deep anger toward a mother or a father because they didn't do anything. Especially when you went to them and tried to tell them what was going on and they didn't believe you or took the side of the perpetrator. We don't know the whole story here, what went on. What we do know is that her mother had to suspect something and didn't do anything. And so then when Anne became lesbian, then what did her mother do? Did her mother look in the mirror and say, what happened here? No. She goes public saying her daughter is going to hell for her lesbianism. Oh, that's going to fix the situation. That's going to help a lot. No. She needed to ask some tough questions. Now, going back to when Anne was a child back then, very little was known about sexual abuse. And so maybe she was just in the dark. But to go to that position, become condemnatory, instead of compassionate and understanding what's going on with her daughter and trying to connect with it and see from her what the truth was. She merely took what she thought was the theological moral high ground. But it got worse. Her father died. Anne's father died. Then that triggered her brother Nathan, who was just 18, to commit suicide by driving into a tree. Now, isn't that interesting? Anne drives into a house with her Mini Cooper at 90 miles an hour. Her brother kills himself by driving into a tree. Was she trying to kill herself? Well, as you'll see in a moment, she's already admitted to being dissociated and having altered personalities. Very easily, there could have been an altered personality that compelled her to drive into that house, and a demon of death, and we're going to get more to this in a moment, pushing her to do it. Some interesting chats out there. Hello from Canada, Kate. Yes. Deborah, from being hairy fruit to laughing about being drunk and crashing into houses is going to be one of those years. Sharon, my father's friend, thought I meant the right person after that, had 2 children with him, and I didn't know I was doing wrong until he became controlling and verbally abusive. So many people like that. Lisa, thank you so much for the gift of $50. Bless you. I hadn't even said anything about the very critically urgent needs of this ministry at this time, and there you are jumping in to help out. I'm very grateful. All right? This other individual says, my uncle got me when I was a child. He tricked me. I know Anne's feelings. Thank you for being honest about that. That's why I need to know if Asmodeus is the male version of Jezebel. Well, Asmodeus is a spirit of lust. It's not really the male version, but he does operate to some extent from that. A shout out from Iran. Okay. And may the Lord bless bless us, his last prophet, together with Jesus, and Satan will be beheaded. Well, I'm not going to go there, but that's really very interesting. Nazarene Shaw asks, are these exorcisms, I guess the ones that I do, real? Yes, they absolutely are. Lisa, thank you very much for that gift of $100. It says, keep our nephew aiding in your prayers. Bloodline drugs, thank you. Aurora Cardona, was she part of a monarch mind control program? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot going on in Anne's life, as you were about to see. So let's unfold this more. You got the picture now? First of all, her father rapes her when she's a child, and it was horrible. Horrible. She gets a sexually transmitted disease from her father. Her mother looks the other way, and then when she is drawn into lesbianism, her mother tells her she's going to hell. Then her brother kills himself. But now some backstory. Before Anne was born, she had a sister, Cynthia, who died from a heart defect at 2 months old. All right. Father's dead. Brother's dead. Sister's dead. Now, in the midst of all of this, Heche is a Baptist, saved, and baptized Christian. So as she's experiencing all this, what does she do? She goes to a psychic to talk to her dead brother. She's so disoriented, she turns to witchcraft, the well-known so-called Hollywood medium Tyler Perry. And this psychic said she had a message for Anne's dead brother, and here was the message. He's proud that you have been able to talk about these things and discuss these things because you're doing it for him too, and he appreciates that. Oh, really? All right. Now she's getting involved in witchcraft. But this isn't the end of the pain. Her sister, Susan Bergman, died of brain cancer at the age of 48. Father dies of AIDS. She has a sibling, female sibling before her, who dies just a few months after birth. Brother kills himself. And now she has a sister who dies young of cancer. She was a well-known writer. She lectured at New York University, Northwestern University, and the University of Notre Dame. Ready for more? Then her widower, after her death, was killed at the age of just 62 when his taxi was hit by a drunk driver. She's got one living sibling left, Abigail, a jewelry designer, who says none of this stuff happened. None of this is true. Has completely blocked it out. Well, that's another story. But are you seeing the trail of death? So when you saw the thumbnail, Anne Heche possessed by death demon, doesn't seem so crazy, does it? Doesn't seem so far out, particularly for those of you who understand deliverance or are beginning to learn about deliverance. So you see how this process takes place, how Satan weaves himself into the whole family structure. Kill, kill, kill. John 10, kill, steal, and destroy. So it's obvious that before this car wreck, Heche's life had been a wreck, including, on top of all of this, how sad, a psychotic break some years ago. Remember that? She walked nearly naked in her underwear onto a public property, and she told children she was going to take them to heaven on a spaceship. And by the way, as I said a moment ago, Heche has admitted she has DID, dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities, and she has an alter ego. She even knows the name, Celestria. Now, where the name came from, and I don't know. But very few people who are dissociative have just one alter ego state, one alter. They have many. So, in addition to demons of death, undoubtedly, there was, and this is, I base this on my experience in dissociative identity disorder and ministering to people. Undoubtedly, as would be present in a case like this. She had an alter personality who determined from what her father did to her that she was worthless, no good, and deserved to die, and had been looking from a human behavioral dissociative standpoint to find a way to kill her, because that was the mission of that alter ego state. Very common phenomenon. So there's something really bad generationally going on here with her father. So that then jumps on top of the dissociative state, the demons from the bloodline, which wasn't about sexuality, really. It was about death. It was about murder. It was about killing people. And this is what you have. But take a look at these chats. You people are really jumping in there. Anacyan Grace Radio Facing. I'm not sure what that is. Her life sounds like the movie Hereditary. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like Margot Kidder. Mind Control SRA. No, I don't think that's involved here. Michelle says she needs deliverance. She needs inner healing. Absolutely. This person says, I still drink. I know why Anne's doing it. Addiction to alcohol is bad. Well, then stop and get some help. Look, the things that I'm sharing with you, and I've got some very important things to say here. This should spur you to get some help. We have numbers of ways that we can do that. Now, thank God there are many ministries that have risen up in the last couple of years emphasizing inner healing and deliverance, more so than I've ever seen in my lifetime of ministry. I can do a one-on-one virtual encounter with you or in person. All you have to do is contact us. Go to boblarson.org, go to our website, the section that says Need Help, and schedule an encounter with me, in person or virtually. We also have associate ministers, highly trained people that I've mentored, people who have worked with me, and they do a great job. And they're all over the country, and some of them are licensed and professional. So we've got a great group of people who can help you. There's no need for anybody out there for whom this is an alarm going off today because you've been a victim of some type of abuse to sit back and say, well, what am I going to do? Well, the chances are if you go to your local church and pastor, they're going to be clueless about it because they don't teach this in seminary. They don't understand it. There, thankfully, are many churches who are getting it, who have inner healing groups in their church, who minister to people who have been traumatized by various forms of abuse, like sexual abuse. But we are here now, and it's the main mission of this ministry, to teach and to train and raise up spiritual warriors through our School of Exorcism and so on, but also to provide counseling, prayer ministry, even deliverance and exorcism as necessary. So please contact us just as soon as possible. Michelle says she was using alcohol to self-medicate from the pain. Absolutely. Jeepsy says it sounds like a horror movie. Wow. And this other individual says, it's weird. I was just thinking of her the other day. Yeah, okay. So many more chats here. Desert Dog says she was trying to kill herself. I think in a way she was. I think there's a death wish, whether it was an alter ego state pushing her to it or whether she just did it herself. Absolutely. All right. Kate says, missed you, Bob. I'm not sure what you missed from me, but anyway, I'm glad that you missed me. And thank you all. Diane, thank you for the gift of $49.99. Jane says, so excited to see you coming to Dallas in October for an amazing deliverance seminar. I think that's the 21st of October, and that'll be here before you know it. So after I've explained all of this, just process it. Now you can see why I believe that Anne Heche is possessed by demons of death. All this evidence, I hear it again, of the 5 siblings in her family. 3 are dead, and prematurely, or at their own hands. Come on, look at the math. Just do the math. You know what? When people come to me and say, well, how do I know if there's a curse in my life? I just say, do the math. See about the statistical probability. Take our demon test. Just go to demontest.org. What is the probability this much misery Could be in one single family, especially, and this is the key, especially in a Christian family. Everybody confessing Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and a father who's a pastor. Of the 5 siblings, 3 are dead. And Anne nearly killed herself. Okay. 3 siblings, her father, extended family member, brother-in-law, and Anne almost died. That's 6. Somewhere in her father's bloodline, there is a powerful curse of death and incest. And if the truth were known, she's not the only one in the family who was incested. And her father was likely incested. That's the way it is. It's always generational. And as to her mother's crusade against Anne's period of lesbianism, I just say the mother would have been better to stop and see what kind of a fantasy world she as a mother was living in all those years, instead of pointing the finger at her daughter. Surely her father started this evil. Okay? Sharon asks a question, says if I'm not able to financially give the gift for virtual encounter and associate minister, what do? We have trained deliverance teams. I mean trained by me, all over the world, all over America. And they will minister to you. Just have to get to one, but they are in most major cities. Nobody needs to go without help. But understand, we have an infrastructure to maintain. We have a staff. We have office facilities. We have media equipment. And one of the ways that we are able to underwrite all of that is through the gifts of friends like you who watch us and those who share a suggested donation for the time that I or a ministry associate or one of our representatives spends. And as a result of that, we will find a way to help. Just be assured of that. We will find a way. I've counseled hundreds and hundreds of dysfunctional families like this. And in most cases, now listen to me, this is another lesson we learn here. One or more member of the family is in abject denial. In this case, it's obvious it was a mother and at least one of her sisters. And I want to say to my Christian friends, the issue here isn't Anne's sexual choices, but the demons that infected all or most of the family, demons of death, that a Baptist family 40 years ago would have been ill-equipped to handle. The theology wouldn't have allowed them to understand it was demons. It's still in most churches, not just the Baptists. Pentecostals, Charismatics, Presbyterians, Lutherans, name them, don't accept deliverance. Thank God for those that do, but most don't. So if somebody's in a situation like this, are they going to think demons? No, because it's never been taught from the pulpit, never been emphasized. People aren't aware of it. They aren't educated to it, so their brain's not going to go there. That's not going to be a solution. And back then, it definitely would have been the case. So, in fairness to her mother, even if she suspected something, what does she do about it? She's certainly not going to think her husband has demons. He's a Christian. And she's got demon too, by the way. She's not going to think about her daughter having demons because the father raped her. No, her brain isn't going to go there. So these demons of death now have at least 4, nearly 5 victims to show for their efforts. Joey, welcome to the soldier level. Elijah says, Bob, I thought altars were protective. No. Some are, yes. That's the main purpose for an alter ego state, is to protect the person, to keep them safe, or to hide and hold on to the trauma in amnesia so the person isn't aware of it. But alters can be destructive because they believe a lie fed to them by the demon that this person is a piece of trash, they're unworthy because of what happened to them. A minister father rapes a daughter. Who's at fault here? Well, it's got to be the daughter's fault. That's the pathological thinking that the demons jump onto and create an alter ego state that believes that and then becomes destructive. So anyway, Dennis says, what time can I contact your ministry? 24/7. We're not here at the phone 24/7, but you go to the website and then we'll follow it up just as quickly as possible. Sylvia says, is anger an issue of an evil spirit or just an emotion? It could be just an emotion. It can be a demon. It can be a little bit of both. Okay? Our prayers are with Anne. Obviously, she's suffering. And we can look at this and say, well, how irresponsible can you be to get drunk and drive 90 miles an hour into somebody's house and nearly kill them? Well, though I don't suggest that she live in victimhood her whole life, I don't think she's ever dealt with the sexual abuse. She may have gotten some therapy, but she hasn't gotten an exorcism. And if you have demons driving you to commit unlawful, illegal, or immoral acts, counseling can only go so far. Most of what we do in our virtual encounter sessions and in-person sessions is counseling. Listening to the framework of people's pain, doing our best to heal it by the power and the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. But then if necessary, get out the demon who's behind the whole thing or exploiting it. So we pray for Anne. And I pray above all that she'll reach back to her Christian faith and somehow separate it from the craziness of her family. She needs our prayers. She needs deliverance before these demons, once again, try to kill her. Thank you for watching. Sorry if I didn't get to your chat. Please support the ministry. Go to boblarson.org, click and donate, help us out. Like and share for somebody to go into the archives and watch what you've seen today, because I believe it was a very important learning experience for many of you. Be sure to watch Bob Larson live on Wednesday night. Stay in touch with all of our videos by going to our YouTube Exorcism channel. And thank you for your prayers. As we've been through a very difficult time physically, financially, and in every other way, we really appreciate you. We want you to know that. And we also want you to know, as I always say at Bob Larson Live on Wednesday nights, through Jesus Christ, you can get free, stay free, and live free.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980